Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves good behind-the-scenes drama. It's Frank. How are you today?
Eating my popcorn, but not for the movies, for the drama that ensues around the movies.
You know, they were all in the drama club for some reason, Frank, and it wasn't because they put on plays. That's, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. That's my go-to line about high school drama clubs. It's called the drama club for a reason, but it ain't because the musical is part of the gig. Yeah.
Is it like you just go around and like, oh God, Mr. Gannon with his joke again? Jeez.
I mean, maybe. I only whip it. I only take it out like once a year, so I think it's a new crowd every year. So
there you go.
Doesn't really matter. Frank, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm actually very excited to talk about this topic with you because we've got some stuff to talk about. But I want to hear about what you are drinking before we talk about.
All right. Well, Frank, it is the almost holiday season, and you know me. I just need to clear the beer out of my fridge, so I'm drinking a Sam Adams Jacko Pumpkin Ale. I almost called it a Jack-o'-lantern Pumpkin Ale. I almost added a lantern when it wasn't needed to be there. It's good. I'm almost done, Frank. I have 2 left, and so...
Okay. So you're making progress.
Yeah, you could probably expect to hear it 1 or 2 more times before I move on to an almost out-of-season beer while the season is still going on, and then we'll... I'm just perpetually behind.
I look forward to hearing about your Christmas beers in February.
Thank you. I'm just going to skip Christmas beers. I'm just going to start with Porch Rocker. I'm just going to try to find it. Just like come into the season with something instead of like exiting far past its value.
That makes sense. Just declare beer bankruptcy at that point, right?
There you go. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking one that I haven't actually tried yet. I'm a fan, as I've mentioned a few times, of Rising Tide Brewery in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
My post-wedding festivities took place there, and we swung by there on the way to Thanksgiving a few weeks ago, and they were having like a massive sale on 4-packs, so I picked up a few. Build your own 4-pack. So I got this 12th anniversary IPA, which has this nice holographic label, and I haven't tried it yet, so... Oh, that is hoptastic. So it is an unfiltered IPA, 6% ABV, and it is wow, yeah, that is very hoppy, but in a nice way. I've said a lot that I haven't been on much of a hoppy kick lately, but I'm starting to get back into it now. I'm starting to enjoy the IPAs a little more. And
you don't like it when it feels like you have bunnies in your mouth, right? They hop, hop, hop.
I mean, who does? They're out of season. It's not Easter, so Anyway, we're dads.
Aren't we, though? Aren't we just?
There's a lot going on at DC Studios.
Indeed, there is. In fact, we should even talk about that it's called DC Studios now. I don't even think we've talked about this. So, Frank, did you know that it was called DC Studios now? So, so James Gunn and Peter Safran are co-running DC Studios. We actually have talked about this a little bit, because you remember you talking about the business strategy of like, oh, come help us interview. Oh, we can't find anybody. You should just do this job, right? And
totally.
The whole switcheroo. But anyway, here we are talking about DC Studios, in which the goal that they have, that Peter and James have, is to unite movies, TV, animation, and games and make one long storytelling experience across 4 different platforms, which will eventually culminate in, probably speculation, is some kind of crisis event, right? And which would separate it out from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in which it's like just movies with some streamers, and this is the largest possible type of storytelling experience that you could hope to gain.
Very ambitious.
Very ambitious. Truthfully, gives me a headache because I don't have time to I just don't have time to worry about all of those things. But obviously, other people don't either. So it's like, if you catch it all, good for you. If you don't, you're probably still fine with the main storytelling experience.
It's interesting, right? Because it's already hard enough when it's like a comic book crossover. It's hard enough to read all the books that are part of a given crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be a multimedia crossover. That could be, that's interesting. It could be very difficult. It could go, either way. It could go very bad or very well.
Yeah.
But it's a super interesting announcement, and I'm intrigued. I am very, very intrigued.
Yeah. Well, with that announcement comes, a lot of turmoil, right? And a lot of news that is arguably news or not news, and we have no idea. A lot of speculation. And so I think one of the bigger things to come out of all of this news is the Hollywood Reporter, had this exclusive article that, spoke about Wonder Woman 3 is no longer moving forward with Patty Jenkins, and some other stuff has allegedly not moving forward. The status of a Black Adam sequel is up in the air, despite what The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is saying about it being a fiscal success. I just saw a thing that apparently his company might have released false numbers to Deadline. So it looks like it's more of a financial success than it is. And it's like, this is so wild. Like, when James Gunn was like, we know it's going to be a rocky road, like, I don't think he really understood that he was really getting into, like, the mush of cookie dough than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was not a good pun. It was not bell-worthy. Thanks.
It was.
Don't pity bell me. Get out of here.
Yes, dear.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about Wonder Woman 3 first, because I saw recently, as of like today, as of recording this, Patty Jenkins, to quote the internet, has broken her silence. I hate that term so much. Like,
it's so overused.
It's so overused. Like, broke her silence, or it's just she hasn't interviewed any yet, or nobody has asked.
Right.
Yeah, like, broken her silence. Yeah,
that's always broke her silence. Speaking out, broke her silence.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, just calm down.
By the way, all of the Hollywood Reporter articles Tim is referencing are in the show notes if you'd like to read them.
Great. Good. And so the speculation was that there were a couple things that happened here. One, that the script did not match what DC's plan is, whatever it is moving forward, so they nixed it. And it could have been a little bit of a tumultuous back and forth, about whatever. I heard the rumor, which is not THR, but the rumor is that it had to do with Wonder Woman bringing Steve back from the dead again, via a Lazarus pit, and so we then in fact didn't see her cope with death in the first movie or the second movie that was all about loss and coping with that loss, and we would see that story again, and it's so boring. Truthfully, like, it's just like, if that's true, like, I just watched that movie, and it was just okay.
I'm curious about the source of those rumors, because I saw a tweet that said that it was from Deadline, but I never saw a Deadline article to back it up. So I feel like that may have been a Twitter rumor. I don't know.
Yeah,
but whatever it was, it definitely lit some speculation and some conversation.
Now, before we go I was talking to my friend Bobby about this, and if they did that story again, Wonder Woman not being over the loss of Steve, there is some kind of story there. She's immortal, so like let's say death is actually a harder concept for her to come to grips with than a mortal who obviously faces mortality, right? But so if there was a story about, like, if it was like Eurydice, like, and not Persephone, is it Persephone in Eurydice? Demeter in Eurydice? Thank you. I can't remember.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. Anyway, the Greek myth, descending into the underworld to claim your lost love, right, from the clutches of Hades or whatever. I would like to see that story with one. Yeah, that would be an interesting Wonder Woman story. I'd watch that movie. But like just resurrecting Steve for the sake of resurrecting Steve, like,
yeah,
whatever. But anyway, she released an interview today that said they never asked me to change anything. But she says, I also understand that they're going through a lot of changes right now, and that's okay. And I respect that. And so, but when all that happened, Lucasfilm reached back out to her, because I guess she dropped out of Rogue Squadron for Lucasfilm because it would have interfered with making Wonder Woman 3. So she opted for Wonder Woman 3. And now that that's not happening, Kathleen Kennedy already reached out and was like, hey, how about that Rogue Squadron movie? And she was like, no problem. So they're already working, like, so they're back in on Rogue Squadron on that end over there, which is just more common than we think it is. Like, that's just how Hollywood has always worked. Right. I think we're just plugged into it more than we ever used to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and there's a lot more leaking happening than there used to be.
Yeah, but there's like leaks, and there's also like actual leaks. You know, like,
right.
Multiple sources say, well, did they though? You know,
right.
There's just as much fake news that goes like fluffs around here, because like that multiple sources could be some, not to call ourselves out, a podcaster that has a lot of followers that
yes.
like has like no actual inside information.
Yeah. It could just be a tweet saying Deadline said this, but it's not true.
Right. Like, allegedly, there was a Michael Keaton Batman Beyond movie that has also been canceled, to which I saw somebody say, like, if it was never announced, was it actually canceled?
You can't. Yeah, you cannot cancel something that was never announced. This happens a lot, actually, with like Apple products, where it's like, oh, Apple canceled that project, the car project. They never announced a car project. They can't cancel a car project that was never announced. You know,
right?
Things like that.
It's
like it was a
business,
rumor.
Business 101. Sometimes it doesn't move past a certain stage. Like if it doesn't, yeah. It's
true.
The cat is alive and dead.
Never,
like, you know, like
Schrödinger's movie.
Yeah.
It is Schrödinger's Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, Schrödinger. Love that cat. But but that's the point.
It's interesting though that it's interesting that that Kathy Kennedy is sort of snatching Patty Jenkins back up, you know, before she's off the market again. Because it did sound like they were and Patty Jenkins sounded like she was personally invested in the Rogue Squadron idea.
Yeah, her dad was
years ago,
a fighter pilot. So like
a fighter pilot.
Yeah, she wanted to bring
they
personal experience.
They announced it
at
like. They announced it at like Disney Investor Day 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was Disney Investor Day. Yeah, that's right.
And there was that video where Patty Jenkins was talking about her dad being a fighter pilot and how this was going to be a cool way for her to get into Star Wars. And, you know, she seemed excited about it. But so it's cool that she hopefully gets to do it after all. The Star Wars thing is a whole other thing. I could go down that road, but they've been clearly staying away from the big screen for the last couple of years since Rise of Skywalker, and so I wonder if this is they're tiptoeing back into it.
Maybe
interested to see how that. I mean, with this and then the Taika Waititi project that was announced, it was announced, but not confirmed what it is or whatever. That seems like that's on the back burner too. So I hope this one goes forward because it sounds cool and it sounds like she's invested in it.
Yeah. Even Disney.
Front,
sorry to stop you there for a second. Even Disney Publishing is invested in it because they're. I don't know if you know that the Star Wars books are getting re-released. They're getting re-released in a different format. They're not the paperback format, but the softcover format, because they're a little bit larger.
Mm-hmm.
They sit on the stands. There's more you can fit, and they can, because of the size, they can actually be on the New York Times bestseller list, which they can't be as mass market paperbacks, which is dumb. For I'm sure there are reasons for it.
I didn't realize that.
Isn't that stupid?
Mass market paperbacks are not.
Can't be on the. Yep, you have to be of a certain format. And mass market is people who don't know the smaller soft covers. The beach read type. And so anyway, they're re-releasing.
They kind of see it like the supermarket.
Yes.
Right, like the smaller, thicker ones are mass market.
Yeah, and so they're releasing Star Wars books in a larger format, all the Legend series. But they're releasing Michael Stackpole's Rogue Squadron books, which
okay,
which is a very specific choice that Disney is making. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean they're well regarded as far as Star Wars books are concerned, and whatever else. But there's a lot of Star Wars books, and so you have to be specific about your choices, and that is a really specific one that they are choosing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I find that interesting. But anyway, to go back to DC Studios, no, in my opinion, there's no better time than right now for a Scooby-Doo Batman live-action crossover, because James Gunn is head of the studio. And why is that not a thing that they are working on right now? Come on.
Honestly?
A Scooby-Doo Batman holiday crossover special for Halloween or whatever for HBO Max. Let's get it done right now. Zoinks. Yep, exactly.
Zoinks, Batman.
It could be so fun. It could be stupid. It could be awful. But it could be so fun. Like the Scooby-Doo
Holy
Batman
meddling
crossover.
Kids, Batman.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like we're so close. Anyway, that's my.
Is Scooby-Doo Warner Brothers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why they can cross over with one. That's why they cross over with each other multiple times. Yeah. It's like a tradition. Every couple of decades, Batman crosses over with Scooby-Doo. Yeah. I would like to see that. Anyway.
I would too. Yeah, I think this. Can we take a step back for a second?
No, I have to be close to the microphone.
Project. Oh, okay. This is fresh air. What do you the whole Gunn and Safran taking over the studio, and this whole idea of like sort of cleaning house, where they're saying they're going to get rid of projects that are not working, but keep things that are working, right?
Sure. I mean,
so
good business 101. Get rid of things that are not working. Fine.
For sure.
Yeah.
But like sort of in universe, right? Like you mentioned before that presumably there'll be some sort of crisis to explain all this, some kind of event, crossover event, to explain what's staying and what's going and why, right? And sort of reform the universe. Because if there's going to be overlapping continuities of like, well, this character is staying, but that one's going, and this one is staying, but that one's going. That's all very interesting, and I'm super interested in how that shakes out and what decisions they make there, like what they decide is working and what's not. Like, does Shazam stay because that was, that was deemed to be good, but Ezra Miller's Flash does not. I don't know. Like what stays and what goes is what's super interesting. And apparently Wonder Woman seems like maybe it's not staying, but even though she's not getting her own film, does the character stay?
Yeah.
Like, and does Gal stay as Wonder Woman as a supporting character maybe in other films, but not get her own film, or at least not the version that Patty Jenkins was going to be.
Right.
Those are the things that I'm really curious about.
I think what they seem to be doing is looking at what's already far enough down the pipeline that they're not going to lose too much money on. So, like, Flash is made. Like, despite what anybody says about Ezra Miller and the terrible person that he is and all of these things, that movie's made. It's done with. And again, despite Ezra Miller being the person that he is, has apparently tested very well with test audiences, which is something that feels like a rumor, because I'm always very wary of, like, test audiences loved it. And that, those things are supposed to be secretive for a reason. So you're either releasing that information on purpose to get people talking, or it's made up.
Which they 100% do.
Of course they do. So there's that. There's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and there's Shazam. Right, those are discounting the Joker sequel and the Batman universe thing that's shaping up between streamers and movies and whatever else. Those are their own things. Those are already done apart from post production, in its own way. But like, they've been working on Shazam for a long time, and they've been working on Flash for even a longer time. And Aquaman 2, and Blue Beetle. Actually, that's the other one.
Oh yes,
which was supposed to be an HBO streamer, and now it's going to theaters. So there must be enough in there that they can bulk it up and make a full movie, for the big screen out of it, which is all great.
Yeah,
that's all wonderful. If all those things are working, that doesn't mean they're working to serve one long narrative. They just might be good. That's it, right? And if they're good, then they can start whatever they're doing after that, right? Keep moving forward. Because I would assume they're not going to copy the MCU model, because I watched that already.
Yes.
I don't want to watch that again. In some way, it's why I kind of liked what DC was doing before, where they were like, I'm just going to make a good movie, hopefully. And, like, if we happen to say Superman in it, great. And if we don't, great. Like,
right.
The model of, I need to see the next one, 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 is tiring, right? That's what we talked about on our Black Panther review. Black Panther was so refreshing because all I needed to really see was Black Panther. Like, I didn't have to worry about all these other things that came before it. So I don't know. I truly don't know where I stand.
It's an interesting situation because, you're right. That's being done somewhere already. And there's, it's sometimes frustrating when it's like, okay, I have to have seen 27 movies to understand this one. But it's also a good business model.
It's a great business model, frankly, especially when they've built an audience, right? That's really invested, because it's annoying, but I'm still going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a good business model. It's also, if you have DC has a devoted enough fan base, right? There are people who genuinely enjoy DC movies more than Marvel films, and vice versa. And that's something worth tapping into, something worth harnessing. And so when you have excitement, like a couple of months ago, Henry Cavill came out and sort of said, like, hey, we're talking, and I'm excited to wear the S again, right?
Which apparently he did without anyone's permission.
Interesting.
Yeah. He took it upon himself to say, I'm back. And DC Studios went, well, are you? Because there was a Man of Steel 2 pitch, I guess, by Stephen Knight. Did you see this?
Yes.
And and it was rejected for waiting for a better option. And
right.
And so, like, are you back? Like, so
that's the kind of thing, though, that like he and his publicist, do to put pressure on the studio. Like, you say something like that in public, you gauge the public reaction, and then you use that as leverage with the studio. Like, look how people want this.
Sure,
you have to do it because people want. You'd be stupid.
It's like running
not to
for
do
office, right? It's kind of like, it's like,
yes.
I've never really thought about running for mayor, but maybe one day. And people are like, oh, you think about running for mayor? How great would that be? And like,
yes, yeah,
no.
exactly. You put out feelers, you put out rumors, you there were quote unquote leaks or whatever. In this case, it wasn't a leak. He just came out and said like, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited to, one way or another, I'm going to do this." And it was around the time of the Black Adam release, I think.
It was the Monday after the opening weekend.
There you go. So definitely sort of trying to use the momentum to leverage a way to get back into the suit, which I don't blame him for at all. Like, if I was playing Superman, I'd want to do the same thing.
Yeah. For him, I'm sure he wants to prove that he could be the Superman that everybody wants him to be.
Hell yeah. And James Gunn has apparently said that, Superman is a high priority.
Yep.
In all of this. Now, he didn't necessarily say that it would be that Superman.
No, he did not.
He said Superman is a high priority, which is not really saying much because he's one of the Trinity. He's one of the three flagship characters of DC. So, of course, Superman's a priority in one way or another.
Sure.
But I'm very interested in do they keep Cavill's Superman? Are they selective about it's going to be Cavill's Superman, but then Pattinson's Batman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman? How do they?
Truthfully, this is where I think that I think they do keep them, and I think they're so far into these versions of these characters, even if some of them haven't shown up in a long time. And even if actors have stepped away for different reasons, they're so far into these versions. If you're really moving towards a crisis event, you should stick with these characters. Even if it doesn't, even if that means that Henry Cavill only shows up in one other Superman movie and then a crisis event.
Sure.
Or you only see Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman one more time in a crisis event. Ben Affleck's Batman one more time in a crisis event.
So that's
plus
the thing.
Flash.
If you wanted to do a crisis event, now Flash, it sounds like, they're doing sort of a Flashpoint thing there, rumor has it, and so that's sort of a universe shakeup event in and of itself.
Sure, unless they're diminishing the end of that movie
right.
in favor of other things, but
right,
they did say they're going to work with what they have first. So but
right,
I
they did
think
say yes.
I think the part of the tagline for the Flash, it's on some of the merch that's out there. It's save the past, save the future, save the multiverse,
save Lois,
something like that. I'm not sure exactly. A half-powered Kryptonian, 2 idiot speedsters, and a retired vigilante, something like that. I can't.
It's I bring that up to say if they're going to build to an even bigger crossover event, you gotta they're going to have to throw a ton of money at a ton of people. If you want to do it right, you have to have 4 Batmans. You know what I mean? You have to have Affleck and Kilmer and Clooney, and you got to have them all together. So otherwise, it's not really a crisis. Otherwise, it's not really that event, right? You have to have all of a bunch of people at least make cameos or a CG version of them or whatever, something. They have to appear in some way. I'm thinking about the Doctor Who 50th anniversary special where they couldn't get absolutely everybody, but they did CG versions of some of them or whatever. There was a glory shot of every person who played the Doctor.
I'm even thinking about the CW Crisis event.
The CW Crisis, yes.
Yeah.
Where they actually got the 2 Flashes together on screen for real.
Right. Yeah, and plus John Wesley Shipp as the 90s Flash.
That's right. Yes.
Right. Plus,
dozens.
Other people that I can't remember. The Birds of Prey.
Burt Ward.
Burt Ward. There was actual things that expanded that out. So
yes, you'd need to do that, but on a bigger scale. On a bigger scale with the
movie people,
the A-list names, right?
Yeah. But if it's movies, TV, obviously the Arrowverse is ending. It's just Stargirl wrapped, which technically wasn't the Arrowverse, but close enough.
Yeah.
Stargirl wrapped.
Flash is ending.
And Flash is the last of them. right?
Yeah, Superman and Lois is in its own thing.
It's on its own corner. Yep, it's doing its own thing.
Even though we've had, I'm blanking on
Tyler Hoechlin.
Well, yes, Tyler, but Green Lantern, but not Green Lantern. Diggle.
Oh yeah, John Stewart Diggle.
John Stewart Diggle.
Apparently he's still working on his Justice U show too.
Yes, which is interesting. Yeah.
So which would also be the Arrowverse. So it's, but anyway, if all these things are happening, you're right. You have to do them all, or it's going to fall flat for fans. Maybe not for a regular audience, but yeah, I think they're not making the bed with what they have, but like you have to follow through where these actors are, because eventually, like the MCU actors or whatever, they're going to age out of like playing that part appropriately. Like you only want to be so old playing Batman because it's uncomfortable.
Sure.
It's like the suits look great. They're not comfortable to wear, right?
No.
You don't want to be doing stunts.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be doing this or this, or you don't want to spend your entire life eating boiled chicken and being in the gym when you're not filming. You know, like all these things that are required of them. Mm-hmm. So, but I think they are working towards a send-off and then a fresh restart where they can do whatever they want with brand new people, brand new creatives, brand new everything. And that's great.
Which is probably for the best.
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. Because it really it's almost like what I feel like they're doing is like the car battery has died, but instead of replacing the car battery, they're just shocking it every time they have to drive the car.
Yeah.
And like
it's just a bunch of jump starts.
Yeah, and they just like it's okay to replace the car after a particular point. That's yeah. And so
decommission it and buy a new car.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. And so all these things about like this movie like got canceled or this or this or this. Would I have liked to have seen a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton? Abso-freaking-lutely. Would have loved to have seen that. Is that like, but you know what? But if I don't, oh well. I'm going to have 2 movies with him in his prime playing Batman plus The Flash, if that's good. You know, if it's not, I will ignore it. Indiana Jones 4 style. Like, whatever.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Any final thoughts?
I hope it's good, man. I hope that whatever they have planned is good. Like, I really hope that I think these are 2 people who have a good gut for this sort of thing, and I hope that the studio doesn't get in their way. That's really what it comes down to, is that, like, the studio can't get out of its own way. I hope that they step back, and instead of doing things by committee, I hope they let these people lead.
Sure, I agree with that, because you can always tell when a movie's made by committee. And it never really works out, for the most part. Actually, I watched a video the other day about the making of Superman 64, the Nintendo 64 Superman game.
Oh, yes, yes.
Which,
oh, man.
Yeah. The big takeaway from that is that WB has always been hard to work with, and like they can't get out of their own way.
Surprise me.
Yeah, right. I'll send it to you.
Yep.
We could put it in the show notes too.
Yeah, please. I actually really want to see that. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
Was it Wrestling with Gaming?
Sure. Why not? If it's 17 minutes long, then yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got it.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Good. All right, well, Frank, where can the people find us?
Well, head on over to beerwithgeeks.com or thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can find us there. You can also head on over to, any podcast app, actually. You can find us there. You can rate and review us. You can support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. And you can email us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com.
Very good, Frank. As always, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And so, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.